Hi, chapter 6. This chapter begins with the definition of culture as a concept and outlines how it is manifested in social groups. Ways to adapt curriculum content so it's more inclusive and reflects many different perspectives on ideas, concepts, and skills are addressed. So here I want to go ahead and take an opportunity to define culture. According to my Google search, it is, and I'm just going to read it, customs, arts, social institutions, and achievements of a particular nation, people, or other social group. It includes language, religion, cuisine, social habits, music, arts. Also, the social beliefs and norms of a group have to do with culture. There's going to be a lot of words in this section, and I'm going to go ahead and kind of define some of them, give some examples of some of them as we go through. So bear with me as I give us some additional background information to help, hopefully, with this chapter. So the concept of diversity is addressed, and the beliefs of a diverse school population is examined through the views of John Dewey, who believed that learning can occur only through free exchange and communication with others whose views and lives differ from one's own. Now, if we can teach kids how to have good conversations with people who have different opinions than us, what a world it would be, because I'm not going there, but a lot of adults have trouble doing that right now. So looking at the word diversity, it is an understanding each person is unique and recognizing our own individual differences. Dimensions of race, ethnicity, gender, sexual orientation, age, socioeconomic status, physical abilities, religious beliefs, political beliefs, or other ideologies are included in that diversity. There's internal diversity, there's external diversity, organizational diversity, and worldwide diversity. The teacher's own feelings, knowledge, and attitudes towards those who differ from them are critical when adapting to diversity. These attitudes determine how teachers behave towards and treat children and their families. Questions for teachers to help them assess their attitudes and ideas for how to demonstrate respect for children and their families are included in this chapter. I think it's really important that we recognize our own culture and diversity, our knowledge and attitudes of others, and that we examine those biases. And as a teacher, I've had trainings where we're looking at those unconscious biases that we have, and the language that we use sometimes with others to make sure that we're not demeaning, especially if we don't intend to, or diminishing, or I'm trying to think of another word, but basically we want to make sure that we are acting and speaking out of respect. So how do children learn about others? And in this chapter, it addresses and gives ideas for how to help them celebrate diversity. And it's not just costumes and food. So if we were to say, oh, we're going to study the Native Americans, and we brought in a teepee or a picture of a teepee, that's not enough. We really need to talk about the history and the geography and lots of different pieces. We need to dig deeper when we celebrate diversity. And especially if some of our families have heritages that we're looking at, we need to ask them to share so that we're making sure that we're, again, getting family culture as well as being more accurate. So there are several key concepts that contribute to children's abilities to celebrate diversity in the preschool and primary curriculum. Interconnectedness, interdependency, multiculturalism, and conflict resolution. So interconnectedness has to do with being connected with others, having that association with others. And that's an important piece that we are looking at, that we are not solely just the only ones with the ideas. Now, we all know that kids that age are egocentric, but we need to help them learn. Others have different opinions, etc. Interdependency is that dependence of people or things on each other, is that mutual dependence. Multiculturalism is the presence and the support for presence of several distinct cultural ethnic groups within social groupings, also looking at fair and equitable treatment and respect. And then conflict resolution, huge thing to teach kids, both that informal and the formal processes. Teaching kids the steps, and there's lots of different ways that you can do it out there. Teaching kids little tricks of how to conflict resolution. There's good and there's bad. Some people avoid, that's not good. Some people just assume that they are defeated if they have differences of opinion, and that's not a good one either. We want to make sure that we're teaching kids how to compromise, how to accommodate, and how to collaborate. So the importance of addressing democratic values in the classroom is stressed in this chapter, and the controversy over what and how values should be addressed is taught. So there's a prerequisite to understanding the role and attitudes and values in the social studies, and the knowledge of how attitudes and values are learned, the current methods and strategies for teaching attitudes and values, and then which attitudes and values should be taught in schools for young children. So democratic values have to do with what's important. So most schools agree freedom, equity, justice are important factors that we want to teach kids. Autonomy, so self-governing, ultimately that's what we have guidance and rules for, is that we want kids to take care of their own selves. Learning how to be cooperative, sharing decision making, having that sense of community. So those are all things that we need to set up in our classrooms. We also want to make sure that we're including the community, the program ideals, the leaders of our programs, and possibly our community. The teachers have to believe in these things, and the families that we serve. So research also suggests that attitudes and values are learned in much the same way that knowledge and skills gained. Modeling, reinforcement, and learning. The theories of indoctrination, value clarification, and value analysis are examined in this chapter. So indoctrination has to do with teaching to accept a set of beliefs. Now, often that is thought of as, I'm teaching you this, these are the beliefs or the guidelines or the rules, and you will abide by them. So we want to make sure that we're teaching some other pieces of that too, how to, what's important that we follow, and having those questioning techniques too. Value clarification is seeking to understand what guides the interests, choices, actions, and reactions of people. And so I have this value, but why do I have this value? What has gotten me to believe that this is something I should value? And then value analysis is where we look at our values and we decide, are these the best values for me? And again, we're going to be the ones sharing that with kids, but we also need to give them the skills to start that self-questioning piece. It's really important that when we're teaching these things, that we're showing it, that we live it. It's not just do as I say, not as I do. That we're reinforcing that within the parameters of our classroom. And then we want to encourage ways to have anti-biased values in the classroom. And also in the chapter, they talk about teaching peace and war. So the anti-biased values have to do with teaching critical thinking and problem solving, how to respect and embrace differences, and act without biases or unfairness. And so this can be a little overwhelming when we're thinking about all of these different things and what we need to guide and reinforce and model and help kids learn. I mean, that's a lot of responsibility. And I think some of us think, oh, families should be doing that. And I agree that families should be having these conversations. But I also think that schools now have more of a social um, obligations, too big of a word, I think, but um, we need to educate on a lot of different things. I also believe, my opinion, not from the chapter, that we need to make sure that we're teaching the skills and not our values, not our um, thoughts and ideas on those things. Okay, so hopefully that has helped you, and that is the overview for chapter 6. Have a great day.